Good evening, Cesar Chavez families. Welcome to the 2020 Town Hall meeting. I just want to remind everyone, if you haven't had a chance or if you didn't notice, there are two links for our YouTube channels. So not only are we doing tonight's Town Hall, but we're also doing the Orientation 2020. We also are combining 6th, 7th, and 8th grade together, since a lot of questions are repetitive and a lot of this information is good for families to review that have been with us for a year or two already. This evening, we have our moderator, Mr. Josh Straley, who is our activities director. And joining me as well on the panel are the assistant principals, Mrs. Defai and Mrs. Zapata. Mr. Straley.
All right, thank you, Mr. Camacho. Welcome to the 2020 Orientation Town Hall questions. We got a lot of questions submitted over the last couple weeks, and we're gonna do everything in our power to answer those questions tonight. Encourage that dialogue throughout the year, as this is uncharted territory for so many of us. Mr. Camacho, will there be formal orientation for 6th graders to be able to locate classrooms, etc., when hybrid begins?
Yes, we will. The plan is to provide a virtual tour of the campus if we are suddenly expected to reopen the school. It is highly unlikely that we will have enough time to do our traditional web orientation, so we will adjust and offer as much as we possibly can.
Thank you so much for that. Next question. When do the incoming 6th graders get their Chromebooks?
Okay, so all students that submitted a Chromebook or hotspot request can pick them up on the day of their scheduled textbook pickup. And then from there, all of the requests need to call the office to schedule a time to pick them up.
Okay, next question. Will students be expected to sit through back-to-back 40-minute Zoom classes?
Yes, students will be expected to sit through the 40-minute Zoom classes. Classes will be held starting at 7:30 if you have a zero period, and there's only 2 sections of that being offered, and then classes end, or the school day ends, at 12:45. There will be 5-minute passing periods between each class, and as well as a scheduled 10-minute break. And then from there, please note that the majority of students that begin their school day during first period at 8:15.
Thank you so much, Mr. Camacho. At this time, we're going to shift to one of the other assistant principals. Mrs. Zapata, you're up next for the next set of questions. What happens if we have a Chromebook from Guy Emanuel? Can they use the same Chromebook and take that one to Chavez?
So that's a great question. I know a lot of families have that question because they checked out Chromebooks at the end of the year at their elementary schools. And so students will be able to keep the Chromebooks that they were issued at their elementary schools.
Great, thank you so much. Next question. When will virtual learning schedules for CCMS students be posted?
So the schedule for the virtual learning schedule was posted in the July newsletter, and that was emailed out actually last week by Mr. Camacho. So families should check their emails, and it's also posted on the school website.
Next question. Does Parent Connect show us attendance, or can you talk a little bit about any other features we might see there?
Yeah, absolutely. So Parent Connect is good for lots of things. It's very helpful. It's good for checking attendance, emergency information. So if families need to update emergency contacts. It's good for checking transcripts, all sorts of different functions. So parents absolutely need to update information through Parent Connect. And we actually need families to do that. That's required for students to get their schedules before the first day of school.
If you have some questions for you, Mrs. Defai. The first question is, since grades will now be assigned, how will testing occur?
Thank you, Mr. Straley. Testing will happen virtually. Teachers will be logged in online and will be monitoring during those testing times.
A lot of questions, a lot of concerns or wonderings about Canvas. Can you talk a little bit about how we sign in, what to look for parents and students as far as signing into Canvas?
Canvas is our digital platform, and basically instructions will come out once Canvas is ready to launch. Please stay tuned to our newsletter in addition to any email and phone correspondence and announcements that the school and district will be sending out because more instructions are to follow, including login information.
Okay, thank you. Last question in this topic. Will the virtual town halls be recorded?
While the town hall isn't live, it will be recorded so you can watch or rewatch any session.
Thank you so much, Mrs. Defai. I appreciate your time. We're here with Mr. Camacho. He's going to take on some questions about instruction specifically. Thanks again for being with us, Mr. Camacho. First question, how will students do PE for virtual and hybrid learning?
Okay, students will attend class with their PE teachers. Students will still do mandatory learning units set by the state, and also physical fitness activities will occur daily. Videos regarding health and team sports will be viewed, and then discussions with the entire class will happen as well. So we are moving full steam with PE, and it'll be very similar to the lessons that we did last year when we were doing shelter in place.
Thank you so much. Next question, how long will we do virtual learning? When we move into a hybrid model, how many days can students expect to be on campus? And then what are the plans to have some classroom instruction, if at all?
Okay, virtual or distance learning will be in place until the state or county conditions allow for school reopening. At this time, the board will revisit the reopening of schools on September 15th. At this time, the hybrid schedule is being worked on, and our main focus is launching the school year through distance learning. The focus will shift to hybrid and in-class instruction once the school year begins, and once the board reviews and approves the timeline.
All right, thank you so much. Will my son be able to select his own elective?
Pre-registration forms were distributed and collected prior to the shelter in place in the spring, and that indicated the student elective choices. Students who choose the wheel will be scheduled according to the availability.
As we know, seventh graders typically get sex ed in their science classes, but due to the pandemic, that was cut short last year. Are there plans to provide this year's eighth graders with that curriculum?
Yes, the plans are to provide sex education as part of the eighth grade curriculum, once again with science teachers, and that will occur in the final trimester of this school year.
All right, thank you again so much, Mr. Camacho. We're here again with Mrs. Zapata. Thanks again, Mrs. Zapata, for being here on our first town hall. There's a number of questions that families have specifically around special education. Thank you so much for being here.
Absolutely.
Question number one, how will virtual learning or distance learning work with 504 plans for students who may have a difficult time learning in that structure, in the structure of virtual learning?
Yeah, absolutely. So I know a lot of parents are concerned about that. So first of all, the counselors here at Chavez are the case managers for students of 504 plans. And in the fall, a 504 meeting will be scheduled by counselors and attended by teachers and administrators so that a support team is prepared to discuss each 504 plan. And then throughout the course of the school year, whether that's the beginning, middle, or end, the 504 team, of course, can be consulted with at any time. Because the 504 plan is in place. And so again, at the beginning of the school year, the case manager, which is one of the three counselors, will be contacting the parents of the student with the 504 to reach out and get that 504 scheduled. And at any time, if the parent is concerned that the student is struggling, whether that's just the normal struggle or the struggle because of the distance learning, then the 504 team can get together to discuss any concerns.
All right, thank you so much. Next question. My student has an IEP. How will students with an IEP get assistance during the distance learning model?
Yeah, so every student who has an IEP will continue to be supported by their case manager, and each case manager will continue to coordinate services with the general ed teachers, with the special ed teachers, with paraprofessionals. An IEP will continue to be held. We want, obviously, all students and students with IEPs to continue to be supported so that the SAI, the specialized academic instruction, obviously we will continue to meet those minutes. But if there is any concerns, obviously the parents should reach out to us so that we can continue to support students with IEPs, so that they can be as successful as possible.
Thank you so much.
I also want to say, Mr. Straley, one more thing. We have a lot of support here, and we know that all parents are a little bit nervous about how distance learning is going to go and what it will look like. We have phenomenal teachers, and we know that they're working really hard to get their virtual classrooms ready. And we know that there's a lot of strategies that they're going to be using online in the classroom, and with the help of our paraprofessionals. There's going to be different trainings that the paraprofessionals are doing online to kind of learn about how to support the students virtually. And so we're excited about that. But again, if there's any concerns, the parents can reach out to us so we can partner with them, so we can work together to support the students.
Awesome. Thank you so much for clarifying that. Last question around special ed. What will happen to students who have IEPs?
Yeah, so all students, I think a lot of times this question comes from incoming sixth grade parents. So all IEPs transfer from the elementary sites from year to year. So parents and families will be contacted from the child's future case carrier in the fall. So, but if parents have any questions prior to that, then they can call the school, and then we will get them in contact with Michelle Onate, who is the current department head. And she will put the parents in contact with their new case carrier, case manager.
Thank you so much, Mrs. Zapata, for taking the time to answer our questions about special ed. Again, thank you for taking the time. We're here again with Mrs. Defai, one of our other assistant principals. Mrs. Defai, thanks for being here. We want to, seems like we have some questions from families and parents about culture building, or in this, how we're going to tackle that in this, in this new landscape. Are there any plans for extracurricular activities to help foster class or school spirit?
Thank you, Mr. Straley. Yes, we are in the planning stages for this at this time. We will be seeking input from students to see what types of activities that they would like to partake in. The challenge we have right now is to find a safe way to interact virtually with these types of events.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Next question. My student was looking forward to trying out for athletic teams. Are there any chance that these will be allowed at the middle school level at some point?
We too are looking forward to the return of conducting instruction in person and then having extracurricular activities and events to resume. At this time, we won't be resuming athletic competitions or training. We tend to follow NCS and CIF regulations, and so safety and protocol is of importance to us. So at this time, unfortunately, we will not be resuming those, but that may change throughout the year.
Last question. What type of online clubs will be offered this year?
So clubs differ from year to year. Basically, please stay tuned via our website or our social media feeds for updates regarding information and club offerings.
All right. Again, thank you so much, Mrs. Defai, for being here with us today. We really appreciate you taking the time to answer our questions.
Thank you.
Thank you so much to all the panel members for taking the time to answer questions from the community. Special thanks to Mrs. Zapata, Mrs. Defai, and Mr. Camacho. With a few more words in closing, he's going to take us out.
All right, thank you, Mr. Straley, for moderating our FAQ session tonight. I just want to remind everybody that student schedules will be available on August 11th at 2 p.m. And you will be able to retrieve the student schedules through Student Connect. With that said, though, I do need to make sure that parents do update their information, their contact information and emergency contact information through the Parent Connect portal. Also, for all 7th grade parents, please submit those TDAP forms. We really need those, especially once we are ready to go to hybrid. We are not going to be able to have your students come on campus without those. We are wrapping up our materials distribution. We have 2 days left, and that's going to end on August 6th at 3 p.m. And for students that are attending and picking up their textbooks and all other materials, do remember that you have an opportunity to take your school ID pictures at that time as well too. And then for all parents, please fill out the free and reduced lunch application form to find out if you qualify. We really need that support. Not only is it helpful and beneficial for your students to get a free or reduced meal, but it also helps us to qualify for programs that exist and grants that are out there. So whether you think you will qualify or not, we really appreciate you spending a few moments to go online and apply for the free and reduced application. All right, with that said, that wraps up and concludes our town hall meeting. We really appreciate you joining us. And please make sure to reach out to us with any other questions or concerns that do arise. Have a good evening, and thank you.